Okay, so this is probably going to be a really shitty first video because I have to film off my phone, haven't gotten a camera yet, but I've decided that, I've never really posted on my YouTube channel. I've always had it, but I've never posted on it. Sorry if I look like shit, I just woke up. But I decided I'll turn it into a teen mom YouTube channel. A lot of people when I was pregnant requested that just so I can share my journey with everybody. And so I decided, that would be pretty fun. That's something that Zoe could look back on in her future and see everything that we did and how small she was and everything like that. And she is up right now. She's just looking at random things here. Yeah, she's like not gonna cooperate right now. But anyway, I decided this video will be the video where I share my whole entire story of the pregnancy with her. So basically how it started was I got pregnant with her in last April. She was not planned, but right when we found out that I was pregnant, me and her dad, Ellis, we decided, we're going to keep her. We want to be parents, even though we didn't want to be parents this young. We want to have this child. We want to keep her or him and raise them together. And we were scared and worried at first because, we're about to be parents. But we were also excited and happy at the exact same time because, our little baby's in there. And I remember her dad would always give her kisses on my stomach and everything and talk to her. Obviously at the time we didn't know she was a girl, but I'm just going to say her because obviously she is now. But, so we kept it a secret for a while. We were going to keep it a secret for the 3 months because we didn't know if I was going to have a miscarriage or not. And obviously I didn't, but the first person we ended up telling was my best friend Dannon, who I wanted to be the godmother. She actually has 2 godmothers. She has my best friend Ashley and my best friend Dannon are her godmothers. So she's got them and they treat her, they're like really good with her. She really loves them. Definitely loves getting them cuddles. And she's focused on something over there. But so after we told Dannon, me and Dannon started talking about, after I hit the 3 months, she was going to help me tell my mom. So a month before I was pregnant, me and Ellis had actually pulled a prank on my dad that I was pregnant. And just to see his reaction, it was just a prank thing that we had saw on something. I can't remember what it was now, but we pranked him. And so this whole entire time, we ended up telling him it was a joke afterwards. But the next month when I did get pregnant, and I ended up telling him in June, he thought I was pregnant the whole entire time. The first time I told him, but I wasn't. And so, but my dad, I told him before my mom because I've just always been closer with him. And he was disappointed, but he was very supportive of my decisions and everything, of me wanting to keep it. And so then the day that me and Dan were going to tell my mom, I had dinner at her house that night, and then we were going to come back and tell my mom together because I didn't really want to do it necessarily alone because I've never been close to my mom, and I thought, things probably wouldn't go as planned or as I wanted it to. So my mom ended up picking me up from her house instead of me getting dropped off there and then Dannon helping me tell her. And my mom drove to our jock lot of my high school, which is just a little while, was literally 2 minutes away from Dannon's house, and parked, and I was really confused on what we were doing. I didn't know why we were there or what was going on, and then she told me that she knew I was pregnant. I ended up finding out later on she had read my texts between me and my boyfriend, and that's how she found out. And beforehand, I had felt like she was going to find out before we could tell her, because one time when my friend Dannon had spent the night, she had, when I went upstairs to grab something, asked Dannon if she had noticed I'd been gaining a little weight. Dannon already knew I was pregnant, but Dannon was keeping the secret for me, like I asked, and so she said, no, I haven't. She's just always been the exact same, and my mom would also notice I was eating a lot more and everything. I never had morning sickness, so she wouldn't have found out that way. I only ever had morning sickness one time, and it was in my second, I think I was in the second trimester, and I just didn't eat right away in the morning, so I threw up, but that was the only time. Another time that I almost got sick was in my 3rd month of pregnancy. We had gone to get donuts in the morning, and, you know, I had my grandma pull over. I didn't tell her why, but, you know, I felt sick, and so I told Ellis to have her pull over. I ran into McDonald's, because that was the place we pulled into, ran to the bathroom, and got ready to puke, and nothing happened. I was completely fine. So I went back in the car and then went to school. But my mom, when we were in the car, she told me, you know, she started talking about making an appointment, and I was really confused because I was like, an appointment for what? And I kept asking her why, what appointment, and she wouldn't answer me until I finally asked her one more time. She was like, for an abortion. And I looked her point blank in the eye and I said, I'm not getting an abortion. I'm keeping this baby. Me and Ellis are having this baby. And she kept trying to say, no, you're not. You're not having this baby. You're not ready. You're gonna abort this baby. You're not having this baby. I'm not gonna help you with payments, all that kind of stuff. You don't even have a job, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, I said, well, it's not your decision. It's my body, my right. I get to choose whether I want to keep it or abort the baby. We'll put it up for adoption, not you. And I want to keep it. And, you know, at that point, she was just done. She drove us home. And so that night, I called my boyfriend. I was on FaceTime with him, telling him what happened. I was super upset. At that point, my mom had said that she was going to tell his mom. I told her not to. And I convinced her not to because he wanted to do that himself. At the time, I was too scared to tell his mom with him because I felt like she would react like my mom did maybe, but also I was afraid that maybe for some reason I'd get hit. I don't know why I thought that. I was just, once you're a mom, you get that protective instinct to, you know, protect your stomach and all that kind of stuff and protect yourself. And I just didn't want anything to happen to where I'd get hit in the stomach on accident or something over anger and, you know, her get hurt or her die because of it. And so, you know, I didn't go. And I wish I had because, you know, his mom, her grandma, loves her. And, you know, there was no reason for me to be scared. I could have just said, like, told his mom with him, but I was too scared. And so, you know, he told his mom, and she took it the same way as my mom. She was, you know, shocked, disappointed. She also wanted us to have an abortion. Sorry, she's being really hyper right now. But she also wanted us to have an abortion. And Ellis convinced her, you know, no, we're keeping this baby. Paige wants to keep this baby. We're having this baby. So, you know, she understood that. A week or two later, I want to say, I think it was at least a week later after they had found out, I was going to go to Planned Parenthood. My best friend Dannon had planned the appointment, and her mom was going to take us because I wanted to see if they could figure out how far along I was, just so I could figure out, like, just so I could know how to track it better and know what week I was in and everything. I mean, obviously that's more something for a doctor's appointment, but I hadn't made doctor's appointments. I wasn't even able to sit down with my mom and talk about any of this because she was still set on me getting an abortion. When we got there, well, the day before, like that day before I got picked up, Ellis came over and gave me $40 because we didn't know if, like, you know, we don't go to Planned Parenthood. That's not something that kids really ever do unless it's needed for, like, a pregnancy test or anything like that. But we just bought ours at the store. But, so he gave me $40 in case we had to pay for it. We didn't know it was necessarily free. We thought we'd have to pay for something. So he gave me $40, and we were just talking for a little bit, giving each other hugs and stuff like that. And then I got picked up. We went there. Turns out we didn't have to pay for anything, but I ended up just using that money for, baby stuff for her. But we went there and they're like, well, there's 2 appointments here for you. And I was like, well, what are they? And she said, well, there's one for a pregnancy test and then there's one to talk about abortion. And I was like, well, you can take the abortion one off. Because my mom had made an appointment behind my back about talking, having people talk to me about getting an abortion and all that kind of stuff, and talking about why you should and why you shouldn't, like that kind of stuff. And it was just, I got so mad, and I told Ellis about it. I wasn't very happy. When I got back to the house, I went off on my mom about it, and at that point, my mom was stressing me out so much. She had made it to the point of where the only thing she'd ever talk to me about or argue with me about is getting an abortion. That's all. There was no, good relationship anymore at that moment. She even typed up this big long thing of reasons why I shouldn't have a kid. A lot of reasons. And I, when I came back home, and I'll explain why I came back home, what I mean by that. I read it over again after she was born, and I was like, yeah, all this stuff was incorrect, all this stuff was incorrect, pretty much all of it was incorrect. But the next night, my mom was going to go to a concert. She wasn't going to be home for the rest of the night, or at least we thought she was. We thought she was going to come late at night, that's what she said, but she ended up not coming home at all. I was on FaceTime with my best friend, Dana, and telling her about the whole situation, how I was so stressed out and everything, and I was scared at that point. I didn't know if my mom was, when you're a mom and that kind of situation happens, you think of every worst thing possible. So I was literally in my mind thinking about what if she tries to put something in my food or my drink to make it where I accidentally kill her. What if, she gives me something in my sleep or something like that to where it's like a self-abortion or something. And she said, yeah, you're stressed out so much that stress could kill the baby. You need to get out of that house. I'm coming over right now. She lives down the street, not down the street, but she doesn't live very far from me. She lives like a 5-minute walk from me. So she started running over here. At that point I was stressed about what am I going to bring, what am I going to grab, that kind of stuff. And so I started, I just grabbed my Nike scent sack and a pink swim bag that I had. And just started, they already had crap at the bottom of it, just random crap I had in those bags, like papers and stuff like that. I started stuffing random crap in there. I stuffed, my hairbrush, toothbrush, toothpaste, my phone, my wallet, all that kind of stuff. I grabbed anything, valuable to me that I felt like my mom might break or something out of anger, like anything my dad had ever gotten to me that he wrote stuff on the back of. I had grabbed, a couple shirts and shorts and pants, stuff like that. Because, in that moment, I also tried to find my duffel bag. At the time, I thought it was at the end of my bed, but it ended up being my closet. I was just, rushing, so I couldn't really think, and I was also not really thinking, I'm gonna be gone for more than a day. I'm probably gonna be gone for the rest of this pregnancy, but I wasn't really thinking, so I just grabbed some random things and left. Dana came and we left, and, I went to her house, stayed at her house for the night. Then the next morning, I got picked up. Not gonna say about who, and then went and stayed with them for a few weeks. I was talking to Ellis the entire time about the whole situation, why I'd left, all that kind of stuff to protect our baby. But where I was, it was at the point where I couldn't see him because I knew that he was also talking to my mom at that moment because my mom was trying to figure out where I was. I had turned off my phone so she couldn't track me. I didn't charge it either because if you put it on the charger or you turn it on, she can track you. So I was talking to him over Instagram and all that stuff the whole entire time because I was using a backup phone that I had gotten from my dad. It was my old iPhone 5S that I had used to have in 8th grade at his house. And so I was using it as a backup phone just for apps. It doesn't have service on it. I was just using it for Snapchat, Instagram, that kind of stuff. So I ended up, just talking to him every single day. We'd FaceTime, all that kind of stuff. We'd fall asleep on the phone together still. At one point, I was going to go to Willamette High School and meet him at the football field to see him because I missed him like hell. And that was around the time that I really started to show more. And, I wanted him, we were in this together. We were boyfriend and girlfriend, And like a couple weeks later, and at that point, I was also starting to lie a little bit to everybody, including my boyfriend, which I hated because I didn't like lying to him, and I've never lied to him ever besides that time. And because I was trying to protect her, and I was trying to protect the location where I was at. So, I ended up, at one point, just lying about everything possible, trying to make it look like I was in Portland, stuff like that, just so people wouldn't look around for me. And then, so it had gone to the point where I had missed him so damn much that I had already packed my bags back up and I was going to go back to my mom's for him because I missed him and I wanted to see him, and we were in this pregnancy together. I didn't want him to miss out on feeling her kick, all that kind of stuff. And I still wasn't going to appointments because I had no way to set them up. So the day that I was actually going to walk, I was literally going to walk back. I wasn't going to do anything that, or I was going to walk to Ellis's house, which wasn't very far from where I was staying. I was going to walk to his house and, knock on his door, and then, my mom would come get me and all that kind of stuff. So the day that I was going to do that, Ellis broke up with me. And the reason is this. We had a really stupid argument. He never even let me really explain things. I really wish he had before he broke up with me. Because he is the love of my life. I still love him. I always will. And I really don't want her having split parents. But, maybe in the future we might get back together. Maybe we won't. It all depends on how time works and, how God has our future planned, all that kind of stuff. But, so, when you're pregnant, your emotions and your hormones get heightened by a lot. And it takes your body a little while, like a few months, to get used to that. I was, I had my emotions heightened, my hormones were heightened. I was also stressed out, scared, mad about so many things, like the whole situation with my mom, running away, all that stuff. So along with that, all of a sudden this random account requested to message me. They claimed that they were a family member of Ellis's family, yet I had never recognized that name, and I knew everybody in Ellis's family. I hadn't met all of them, but I knew who everybody was because Ellis always told me and would talk about it a lot. So, they started just asking me a bunch of personal questions about, my pregnancy, what I'm going to do with the baby, all that kind of stuff, appointments, everything. And, along with all that kind of stuff, I was kind of offended that somebody was asking me that I didn't even know who it was. Personal questions, even questions that you never ask somebody, that's just something that stays between just the mom and the dad, or just the mom herself. And so I started, I really wish I had reacted better, but, I had asked Ellis, do you know who this is? He said, yeah, but he wouldn't tell me who it was. So at that point, I thought in my head that this was my mom, trying to figure out where I was, trying to figure out everything possible. So I started messaging this person back and was being really rude because I thought it was my mom, and I was pissed at her. I was, I had so many mixed emotions. Everything was heightened, I was just losing it at that point. And, at one point, I just had enough, and I lost it, and, I broke. I sent this huge-ass paragraph about a bunch of things about Elsa's family that weren't even true. I lied about it all because, I was so pissed that I wasn't really thinking. I just said the randomest things to try to get this person to leave me the hell alone. The whole entire time, the person that was messaging me was Ellis's mom. Now, if I knew that and Ellis had told me that from the start, I would have been nice. I would have taken my time to answer the questions. and I wouldn't have did the thing that I did, because then Ellis broke up with me because of that. He never let me explain that the reason why I said all that and lied about all that was because I thought it was my mom. I wanted this person to leave me the hell alone, and everything was so heightened. I was feeling so many things right then that I just burst, and I didn't really think before I did that. So after that, I was heartbroken. I cried every day, every night. I never stopped. I felt really low. And then I ended up moving in with my dad. Now, I wasn't supposed to live with my dad at all, because it was technically against the law because of the thing that my mom had put against him. So I was living with him in secret. Obviously, I was living with everybody I lived with in secret because I ran away. But I was living with him in secret. And, at that point, I was like, you know what? I need to stop crying. I need to be strong for this baby, because this baby feels every single emotion and feeling that I feel. So I basically turned off my emotions. Like, I didn't turn them off, but I turned off, the part where I wanted to cry. I told myself not to cry and that I was going to be strong. I missed Ellis every single day, obviously. I still do, obviously. But, I turned that switch off so I could be strong for her, because I didn't want, anything bad to happen with the pregnancy because of how low I was at that point. So, a little while later on, I went to I can't remember what they were called, but I went to a place, made an appointment where they could give me an ultrasound and tell me how far along I was, that type of situation. So they ended up telling me that my due date was January 3rd, and, that was the first time I'd ever seen her, and I just fell in love instantly. I almost started crying because I was so happy, because the whole entire time I also, I hadn't had an ultrasound, so it still felt kind of surreal to me. I still kind of felt like there was nothing in there. And I could feel her kicking at that point, so I knew something was in there, but it still was kind of surreal because I'd never really seen her yet. So once I saw her, I just felt in love. I knew this is real. This isn't surreal anymore. This is, like, absolutely real. And so they told me that they were going to check in with somebody else to make sure that they got the due date correct, and then they were. And then a little while later on, I was talking to one of my mom's friends because they hit me up, and they were going to try to give me an appointment because I need to start getting appointments at that point. I was around 20 weeks pregnant, 25, like at least 20 to 22 weeks pregnant. And I had not had one appointment. I'd been taking prenatal vitamins and pills, but I hadn't been to appointments, so I didn't know the gender, nothing like that. Because the ultrasound that I went on, I asked them and they said that they weren't trained to be able to find out the gender. They could only find out the due date, that kind of stuff. So I did that. She paid for the down payment and everything. I started getting appointments. The appointment after the first one was the one where I found out her gender. And when I found out the whole entire time, my whole entire pregnancy, I knew it was a girl. Everybody thought I was wrong, but I had a feeling. And I was correct, obviously. And at that point, I knew, this is, like, the best thing that's ever happened to me. The whole entire time throughout the pregnancy, after me and Elsa's breakup, he had blocked me on everything, or at least I thought he did. He didn't block me on one of my Instagram accounts. If I had known that, I would have tried to contact him, but I didn't know. So there was a couple times he did unblock me, and I had asked him, will you please go to these appointments with me so you can see your daughter on her ultrasounds and, just be able to go through this stuff with me. And he said no every single time. So, if anybody ever tries to call me out saying, you never involved him in anything during the whole entire pregnancy after the breakup, that's not true. I tried multiple times. He just wouldn't want to. But so after that, I had weekly appointments, and, I only ever had 2 ultrasounds. Or I had 3 ultrasounds, but after that I didn't have any more. And, she just kept getting bigger and everything. In November me and my dad moved to a new house. I started getting the last minute things and everything that I needed for her to set my room up perfectly. I didn't even finish my room until like the last couple weeks before her due date. And she was due just January 3rd, but she decided that she wasn't gonna come. A week before my due date, they had checked and they said that I was 2 centimeters dilated, 40% effaced, but she, the whole entire time it hadn't changed at all, and the due date hit and she hadn't come. I thought, maybe she'll come tonight. She didn't. So that day they had scheduled an appointment on Monday of that next week to check to see if anything's changed, and nothing did. So then they scheduled me an appointment on Friday, the day that I would turn 41 weeks, and I would be induced if she didn't come before them. And she didn't, so the induction day came. I had to be there at 6 o'clock a.m., so I stopped at Sherry's with my grandma first to get breakfast because I was starving. I needed food in my system, obviously, for her and for myself. So we got it to go, went to the hospital, checked in and everything. They brought me to my room. I started eating my food because then she hooked up the IV to me and everything. And she said that I couldn't eat anything. I could only have clear things after she started the Pitocin. So the rest of the day I only had water, ginger ale, and I had a lollipop. That's all. But when she first I'm gonna tell you, when she first put the IV in, the needle in, I wanted to rip it out. Because for me, I'm not scared. It's not like I'm scared of needles. But because I can take shots perfectly easily. But I hate my blood being taken, and I hate just needles staying in my arm. I just like I'm fine with shots, but I don't like things staying in my arm. So I almost started having a panic attack. I started sweating, stressing, because I wanted that needle out. Now, my best friend Ashley was there in the hospital with me to be my support. She told me, you won't feel it after a while. You'll get used to the feeling. You won't mind it anymore. But, don't take it out. Because then you're going to have to do it all over again. You're going to hate yourself for it. So, I kept, telling myself, don't take it out, even though I really wanted to. And, I ended up, not taking it out, and my body did get used to the feeling of it, and I didn't mind it anymore. But after a while, so a couple weeks before I was going to be induced, I told my dad I didn't want him at the hospital. I didn't want him there at all, because I wasn't comfortable with it in any way. And so, he said he wouldn't be there, but lo and behold, he ends up coming without my permission or anything. And, he instantly starts talking to one of his friends and everything on the phone, which irritated me because, I'm in pain. I wasn't at pain at first, but they started, putting me on Pitocin and everything so I could kind of start feeling contractions, but they didn't bother me. But I was frustrated. I'm in labor and you're talking to somebody I don't even know, telling them about how I'm doing, all that kind of stuff. I don't even know who that is, and I, don't want you sharing my information to them, And he was on the phone with him for about an hour, and then he ended up hanging up. And then my dad started taking pictures of everything, including me. Now, for me, I hate my picture being taken unless I give permission or I'm comfortable in that situation. Now, I wasn't comfortable in that situation with him doing that at all, and I did not give him permission. I was in labor. I was tired. I didn't look good. I didn't want people taking pictures of me. So, he wouldn't stop. I told him multiple times, please stop. I don't want you doing that. He wouldn't stop. He thought it was just all a joke and everything, and it was to the point where I was about to call the nurse in to kick him out. And then right then, one of the doctors came in and said, okay, we're going to break your water. So I got so excited because at that moment, I was like, finally, I can kick my dad out. Because my grandma was also in there. And they, at one point, started arguing and stressing me the hell out. So I kicked them both out. I did not let them come in for the rest of the day. And they broke my water, and that's when I really started to feel contractions. At first, they still weren't bothering me, but after a while they started getting a little uncomfortable and then a little worse every single time. So the whole entire time, Ellis and his mom were at the hospital. They were just in the waiting room. So I ended up requesting to go into the jacuzzi in my bathroom with the jets and everything to help ease the pain of the contractions, just so I could feel a little more comfortable, because laying in that bed, I couldn't just stay in one position. It hurt too bad. So, she started it up for me, got it warm, helped me in and all that kind of stuff. And then while I was in there, I ended up convincing Ellis to come in there. And he ended up going in there, not in the bathroom, but in the room. And so while I was in the bathroom and everything, him and Ashley were in the room. And I ended up going out after a while just because, I was tired of being in there. I wanted to move around a little bit and I needed to go to the bathroom. So, I never really know when a nurse is in there or not, and I don't want to yell, I need help or something like that, because, that's just awkward to me. So I pressed the help button, or at least pulled the cord that's part of the tub, and a nurse came in and I asked her, I'm done with the bath, could you help me out and everything, help me, back up onto the thing, can't hook back up my IV and everything, because they'd taken everything off of the thing. And I also asked her, because after they break your water, after every contraction you kind of leak more and more out, because not all of it's going to come out at once. So I asked her, can you get me a new pad and netted underwear, because in the hospital, after having a baby or just anything where you need that, they give you this almost netting looking underwear. It's not even exactly underwear, it's just something to hold the pad up for after having a baby, because after a baby you bleed. So I've had been wearing those because I just didn't want to, have amniotic fluid leak onto the floor and everything after every contraction, and it just made me feel more comfortable about myself. So she did that. I used the restroom and then I came out, went back into the bed. At that point, I was also kind of bouncing on a yoga ball because, that was just helping ease the contractions a little bit. So after a while, they started getting pretty painful to the point where I started crying a little bit. When they checked me, again, to see how far I dilated, I was 6 centimeters dilated. So I had requested an epidural because I'd wanted one from the start, but I had wanted to get one at 7 centimeters, but I was like, you know what, we're at 6, let's do it. So they said, okay, well, he's with another patient right now, but the anesthesiologist will come in when he's done. So at one point, Ellis ended up going to go get food. He had gotten food, so he went out in the hall to eat it. And right when he was coming back in was when they were going to do the epidural. He said, I don't know if Ellis thought that maybe they had to strip me completely to give me the epidural or what, because I don't think he really exactly knew what it was at the same time. So he said he was going to step out in the hall for a minute. And I started feeling this, and I'm going to be completely honest right now. I'm going to tell you ahead of time. TMI for the people that don't want to hear this. But this is pregnancy. There's nothing that, is kind of not TMI. Anyway, they had put my legs up on the thing to have my back straight and all that kind of stuff. The guy had already cleaned my back. I'd put the plastic thing on my back to then give me the numbing medicine and then insert the needle. So he was telling me, you gotta sit still, you gotta sit still. I couldn't sit still because all of a sudden I was feeling this horrible pain. And I'm literally gonna tell you like this because I feel like every person, guy and girl, whether you've had a baby or not, girl-wise at least, because guys can't have babies, it literally felt like shit cramps, where if you don't take a shit, it literally, that feeling when you need to, but you don't want to, that type of thing where it hurts that bad. I felt like that. I felt like I literally had shit cramps and I had to shit. So I kept telling my nurse that kept trying to keep me still and keep my back still, because if I don't stay still, they could paralyze me when they're inserting the thing into my back. It could paralyze me if I don't stay still. So they're trying to keep me still. They hadn't even given me the numbing shot yet. But I kept telling her, I think I need to shit. I think I need to shit. And at that point, I was crying. I started screaming a little bit. Ellis even said he heard me yelp. Because I was in pain. And, having contractions, isn't all fun and games like some people think it is. It is painful as hell. And, so the nurse was like, okay, let me check you really quick. And she was like, oh no, that's the baby's head. The baby is coming. And only 10 minutes had passed since I was 6 centimeters. So in 10 minutes, I had gone from a 6 to a 10. And she was coming. So the nurse said, the baby's coming. We can't do the epidural. And so, the guy left. And Ashley had asked me, do you want Ellis in here? And I had nodded and said yes. But I was crying and screaming at the same time. I don't think she heard me. Because nobody went and got him. He was still out in the hallway. I remember in the end he said he felt really bad because of, how much pain I was in. But, every person's gonna feel bad because you're pushing out a baby. It's not gonna be, not painful. It's gonna hurt like a bitch. And so, she's like, the doctor came in, she told me, you gotta start pushing everything. After every contraction, you gotta push. And I was stressing because it hurt so bad to the point where I was literally saying, cut it out of me. I do not want to push. Give me a C-section. That's literally what I was saying. And, I was also saying, I can't do this. I can't do this, like that kind of stuff. Because when you're pushing out a baby, especially since all natural, since I could not get the epidural because she was coming, it's not easy. It hurts and you're so out of it because of the pain and you're in shock that you will literally say and do whatever. I almost even punched my nurse because I was in so much pain. And, I was literally gripping Ashley's hand with my life. Like I felt like I was cutting off her circulation type grip. And they're telling me you gotta keep pushing and all that kind of stuff. Like, we can start seeing the head, you gotta keep pushing. And I was like, I can't do this, cut it out of me, that kind of situation. Once she was out, I was in so much shock that, at first they're like, do you want to hold your baby? And I said no. I was in so much shock that I wasn't even thinking correctly, and I said, no, I do not want to see my baby right now. So the nurse was holding her, drying her off and everything. I was still kind of out of it, but I looked over at the doctor who's down there, and I was like, do I need to deliver the placenta still? Because most of the time after having the baby, then the placenta still needs to come out, and for people who don't know what that is, that's what the baby is in when they're inside of you. And a lot of people have to then deliver that and push that out, and that's painful as well because that's a lot bigger than the baby. And the doctor said, oh no, it's already been out for a while. It came out on its own. I was like, okay, thank God, because I cannot handle any more pain. And so after a little while of them drying off the baby and everything, me still kind of being in shock, they could see that I was in a lot of shock. They had even had to put an oxygen mask on me because the baby's heart rate was dropping. So, they had to unclip the top of my gown and put her on my chest for skin to skin and everything. Right when I saw her face, though, I felt absolutely in love. I felt a love stronger than you could ever imagine would be even possible to feel. Before she was handed to me, though, I just pushed her out, I didn't hear her crying. And so I started asking, Ashley and the nurses, is she okay? Is she okay? Is she breathing? Why isn't she crying? And they were like, oh no, she's okay, she's okay. I didn't know it because nobody told me, and I'm really frustrated they didn't, but I had asked Ashley later that day why she wasn't crying. And Ashley said because the cord was wrapped around her neck. I didn't know that because nobody told me one little thing, but I got super frustrated that they didn't tell me that. But thank God she was okay. And while I was holding her, the doctor said, you're going to feel a pinch that's like a bee sting because you need stitches down here, so I'm going to give you numbing medicine. And the shot hurt like a bitch, I'm going to say, because that did not feel like a bee sting. I have been stung by bees a few times, and they don't bother me at all. I don't even feel it, and it doesn't hurt me. But that hurt, and it did not feel like a bee sting. So she started stitching me up down there. A couple times she had to give me more numbing medicine because then I would feel it. And every girl knows that you feel anything like that down there is gonna fucking hurt. So they had to give me more numbing medicine and everything while I was holding her and stitching me up. And, after that, I was still kind of out of it, but Ellis ended up coming in and everything, seeing her after, everything was cleaned up down there, nothing was showing. Definitely after that, going to the bathroom hurt really badly, obviously, because you just got stitches, all that kind of stuff. Nothing's gonna feel right down there. I was swollen, was not having it, pretty much. I'm still kind of out of it. They had to, for the first day and night that you're there, they have to continuously press on your stomach every single time they go to see how you're doing, because of blood clots and all that kind of stuff. Because you do bleed for a few weeks. You can bleed up to 6 weeks postpartum, because your whole entire body is getting rid of everything they don't need anymore and healing itself and shrinking, all that kind of stuff. So them pressing on my stomach did hurt really badly. I definitely did not like it. It really hurt. I would constantly say, ow, 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 that hurts. Because, you're all sore down there and, you have so much stuff going on down there that, you don't want to feel that pain. So they were doing that the whole entire time. Also, I was going to breastfeed her. So, but also your milk doesn't come in for 2 to 3 days after having a baby. And there's a different type of stuff. I can't remember what it's called at the moment. I'm too tired to really think of it, but you have that you feed the baby for a little while. So I would have to, she didn't latch. Zoe didn't like to latch. And so I had to pump for her. And then Ellis would feed it to her. Sometimes I would feed her, other times he would. The first night I was there, my best friend Ashley stayed the night with me to help me with her because, I was tired. I had been up since 6 o'clock that morning. I needed sleep. I was still really drowsy and out of it because of everything that had happened. Still kind of in shock. So she helped mainly put Zoe back to sleep and everything that night. And helped me feed her. And so, the next night, because in that morning, Ashley had to leave because she had to go see her brother, all that kind of stuff. So then that next night, that day, Ellis had had visited with his grandma and his brother and his brother's girlfriend, his mom, and his sister. And they had all seen Zoe. Marie and Ellis, obviously, had already met Zoe. But nobody but Ellis had held her. So that day, all the rest of them had met her, and, held her. And then that night, Ellis came and spent the night with me to help me out with her, and just for more bonding between the three of us together. Because at that point, me and Ellis agreed, we're going to be best friends. We're going to do it for our daughter. We're going to raise her together, so we have to get along, that kind of situation. So, also, during that whole situation, the night she was born, my mom, sister, niece, and brother were all going to California until Tuesday. So I wanted them to meet her before they went. And so they stayed for a couple hours. My dad got pissed about it because he was like, we've been here all day, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, I didn't ask you to come here in the first place. You didn't even have to stay here all day. It is my choice who comes and visits me and who doesn't, and when I want them to and when I don't. And he left. My grandpa left, but my grandma stayed. You're fine. So, they all left. They got pissed at me. And then the next day, my dad said he was going to come and visit without even telling me beforehand. Now, my dad does not know where my new room is because I was taken to a new room because the one room that you're in is only labor and delivery. And then you have to get taken to another room. So he said, I'm going to come over today. I said, no, you're not. You did not ask me, and I do not want you here. Today is the day that is just going to be for me, Ellis, and Zoe. And, he got pissed, and he said, and he kept arguing with me and everything, and at that point, he had said, you know what? Find a way home from the hospital yourself. I am not driving you home and picking you up from the hospital tomorrow anymore. And I'm telling Grandma not to either. And so my dad pretty much dished me and left me at the hospital alone. So I had told my mom about the whole situation. Ellis had, heard everything because my dad sends audio messages off text. And so my mom and Marie, Ellis's mom, started talking about, what's going to happen. Because my mom was in California. I was going to end up moving in back with her because of this whole situation. But I had nowhere to go till then. So I ended up staying with Ellis until Tuesday. So they had to end up bringing me home from the hospital the next day. And I just stayed with them, which was really nice because then all three of us could spend some time together as a family now and, take care of her together, all that kind of stuff. So after that, my dad was like, when are you coming home? I was like, I'm not coming home. I'm moving in with Mom because you dished me at the hospital. I do not want to live with you if you're going to be like that. You turn into a dick of a person. And so now I am back home. So that's earlier in the video. That's what I meant by when I came back home. I am back home now. It's nice for her because my niece, Elena, is obsessed with Zoe. She calls her Dada because, she knows how to say baby, but she refuses to say it. So she, every single day, pretty much comes and visits Zoe, and all you hear downstairs is Dada, Dada. She runs upstairs to come see her. And, it's nice because then they can get closer and all that kind of stuff. I don't know what she's doing. But my brother also is fond of her. But my brother is also a 13-year-old boy, so he's still focused on video games and everything. He also doesn't really care. My mom is really helpful with her when I need a break or if I need to go do something and I can't hold her right then. My mom, did you go back to sleep? Yes, you did. My mom will hold her for me. My sister comes over a lot to see her as well. And Ellis comes over a few times a week. We are trying to figure out a way for him to come over more often or me go over more often just so he can help me out more with her. Because he is in school and I'm not right now. But, he still does need to help out with her. So, like, the times he wants to be playing video games and stuff like that, he needs to be helping me with her. And plus he needs, when babies are, like, still small, that's a bonding time, So, he's a really good dad to her, though. He's an amazing dad to her. She really does love him. So, yeah, they're really good for each other. She definitely does not like tummy time, and she definitely does like a lot of naps. She loves cuddles. She doesn't like being alone when she's up. She always wants to be held, so that's something we have to train her not to do anymore. Like, we will hold her, but she needs to get used to fact that she cannot be held all the time. She needs to distract herself and keep herself busy because she cannot be as clingy as she is, because once she turns a year old, she's going to think that's okay. But what if she gets to throw a fit every time she doesn't get something that she wants or if she isn't held? So we need to train her not to cry about that all the time anymore. And she is officially a month old. She is going to be 2 months this the 10th of this coming month. So yeah, that is pretty much the whole entire pregnancy story. Sorry this video was so long. It's just, there's so much. I did not include certain things just so it wouldn't be super long. But yes, that is the whole entire pregnancy story. Sorry that, the quality might be a little bad or, I stuttered a little bit because I am tired, but the videos will get better as they go on. I promise you that. The next video I will do will probably be something for like answering people's questions, stuff like that. So, in this video, if anybody has any questions or anything, comment down below about it and I will answer them. I'm also going to be doing a questionnaire on my Instagram and my Snapchat for any questions that people want, and I will answer them in the next video. I will put my Instagram and Snapchat down below as well. So, thank you for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. She's gonna wave goodbye. And you guys will see my next video hopefully in about a week.